And Busch Stadium, the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals, along with Erica Weston and Jim Hayes. Rick Horton here in the booth. I'm Dan McLaughlin. A beautiful day, 79 degrees here in the Gateway City. Glad that you're with us as we get you set for baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. You never know, we may have to play 2 more games against Detroit before this one is all said and done, as the Detroit Tigers have been one of the surprises in this truncated season.
Ron Gardenhire really has them playing well. There's a lot of young players, a lot of names that maybe you don't know on this club, but you're right. We're talking about the Cardinal schedule as being 58 games right now, and that's assuming we don't play those 2 games, but we may the day after the season ends on that Sunday.
So the Cardinals beginning play. They picked up a half game last night. Chicago lost, so the Cardinals are 2.5 back, and they are 2 in front of Milwaukee, and still 10 head-to-head, mind you, against the Milwaukee Brewers before this one is all said and done. Jack Flaherty is on the mound for St. Louis. A short outing his last time out against the Cubs at Wrigley, and a look at his Hyundai pitch arsenal.
I expect Jack to be very good today, and of course he's been very good at home, but he's got such a good arsenal. The hard 4-seamer also can sink it, throws cutters in, and he really has everything. He has everything you need. He's also got the kind of the heart too, that intangible thing. He just attacks the strike zone. Very confident young pitcher, and that's how he's become the Cardinals' ace.
Ron Gardenhire has been around a long time, and he is at the helm of the Detroit Tigers. Actually singled off Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter for his first major league hit. That was September 11th of 1981.
I go back to him as a minor league player with the Mets, so we certainly had contact. He is a guy that will tell you the truth, Danny.
How about this lineup? It's Reyes, Scope, and Miguel Cabrera still going strong. Candelario, Castro, Demerit, Cameron, Romine, and Isaac Paredes. So not household names, but that guy is.
Yeah, oh, you better believe he is. In fact, you think about the best 2 players that are still playing that have a great legacy going, you'd have to think of Albert Pujols and Miggy.
2 of the best right-handed batters in the history of baseball, and still going. So Jack Flaherty gets the call this afternoon for St. Louis. Cardinals once again facing a situation where you want these starters any day. You want them to go deep, but when you have a doubleheader and another one next week and then another one, you got to get length.
23 games in 18 days, and as we said in the open, no more off days. So Mike Schild has been building to this moment. He knew that it was just going to be the hard, long finish, and that hard, long finish starts today with 2 against the Tigers.
So the switch hitter Victor Reyes will lead it off, batting .302 with 4 home runs. He has driven in 13. And away we go here from downtown St. Louis. And the first pitch, a strike, in our key to the game from Rick Horton.
Well, we need to have Jack back on track, and what I mean by that is he needs to get off to a good start in this game. The last time he was out, he only pitched 43 pitches. It was really an odd game. He just gave up a lot of foul balls early on like that, and the pitch count got up. It wasn't that he was pitching poorly. He just was not able to have the low pitch inning, and I think Mike Schild was smart to get him out early because of the way things were trending, so he would be strong for today.
And that is your Toyota key to the game. The 0-2 pitch. Pulled foul. Good to see our Director of Communications, Brian Bartow, who is a native of Battle Creek, Michigan, and graduated from Ferris State College in Big Rapids, Michigan. Back at the ballpark today.
Terrific.
And the 0-2 pitch. Brian was one of those that was affected in the wave of COVID-19 that hit the club. Cardinals had 10 players and 18 total. Brian was hit with that and back at the ballpark today. Great to see. 2-2. Swing and a miss and a strikeout. And that's how we start the afternoon. A strikeout for Jack Flaherty. And the Cardinals defense Around the Horn presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. O'Neill, Bader, and Thomas in the outfield. Tommy Edman getting the start at third. DeYoung, Wong, Goldschmidt along the infield, and wearing number 21 behind the plate, Yadier Molina. Jonathan Scope, longtime Oriole, now with the Tigers. Spent a little time with Milwaukee and now with Detroit.
So we have a first base coach for the day. Alan Trammell is joining the staff for today. Of course, the Hall of Famer. What a great player Alan Trammell was. And he's coaching first base today because Ramon Santiago is taking his U.S. citizenship test today, which is very nice to hear. And Trammell, certainly Tiger fans know who he is and love him.
Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell.
Oh, boy.
Synonymous. The 1-1 pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
This Tiger team had a bad day yesterday on the field. It just was
I think it's safe to say that.
I'm trying to be honest about it, trying to be nice about it, but a 19-0 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers, where Demerit, the left fielder, had to pitch the last inning, and 2 of the pitchers that were in that game were sent out, so they made some changes, got reinforcements. But we have to understand today in light of just how tough yesterday was on them.
And the 2-2 pitch to Scope. Fouled back. Saw Flaherty in that start at Wrigley. Was getting underneath that slider, wasn't he?
He was, and I think that's part of the reason they were able to foul off some pitches, deeper counts, and again, he was okay. He wasn't terrible, Jack Flaherty, but Chicago just made him work so hard early on. It was just out of reach early.
Manager Mike Shildt earning his 150th victory in the second game of Monday's twin bill against Minnesota in career game number 266. 3-2 pitch, and he struck him out. Back-to-back Ks to start his afternoon. Kubota power stats. Miguel Cabrera all-time ranks: hits, home runs, runs batted in, and slugging. And truly one of the great hitters ever.
When I think of him, I think of the ball literally jumping off his bat. He doesn't have like a crazy hard swing, but he gets the bat through the zone, no doubt about that. But the ball jumps off his bat, power everywhere, and he has been a elite player for a long time.
Popped up into shallow right. Lane Thomas won't get there, and it's a foul ball. Kicked away by Colton Wong. Well, we saw for a decade Albert Pujols, and Tiger fans have enjoyed Miguel Cabrera, and the comparison between the two.
Albert over 3,000 hits, and Cabrera not far below 3,000, and several home runs hit by both of them, and the RBI total is terrific as well. These are guys that not only have been, and the comparison I think is they've both been outstanding hitters that also had big power numbers.
It was home run number 400, I believe, that was hit here by Miguel Cabrera to dead center field at Busch Stadium. Good pitch there in that slider.
I think in some ways those two players, Cabrera and Pujols, is what made everybody start thinking about OPS. I mean, not only getting on base, but also having power. And the combination of those two things, I think, defines Cabrera and Albert as well.
Jack Flaherty strikes out the side here in the first inning. Reyes, Scope, and Cabrera all go down. Coming up, Wong, Edman, Goldschmidt. Game 1 of the doubleheader on Fox Sports Midwest. The career managerial record, Major League record for Mike Shildt. Picked up win number 150 against Minnesota. Took over for Mike Matheny. And at the top of his lineup, it is Colton Wong. And a strike. What do we know about this lefty of Detroit?
Well, this lefty is young, number 1. He also is averaging a strikeout an inning. His name, Tarek Skubal. That's how he pronounces his name. And he has a good fastball, mid-90s. And the Tigers need pitching right now too, Dan. Everybody does, but after 19 runs yesterday, they'd like to see him go deep.
And the 0-2 pitch, spoiled by Wong. So Colton at the top, and then Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt celebrating his 33rd birthday. DeYoung, Ravello, the designated hitter, Molina, O'Neill, Bader, and Thomas. Colton has done a nice job recently at the top.
And I like seeing Ravello in the lineup against the lefty. I feel like he's pretty close to being able to make some nice contributions. I've always thought he could flat out hit. It's just been where do you put him?
Yeah.
And the DH is giving him that opportunity.
500 on base percentage for Wong in his last 10 games and a .424 average. Also is driven in 6 in his last 10.
You see very little drop off against lefties too. Hangs in well.
Teams are not shifting nearly as much against Wong either. Spraying the ball. Have to do that, especially with a lefty on the mound. He'll take it the other way.
They're playing straight up now, and at one point the third baseman was way off the line, but now he's back to his position.
And Wong hits it in the air. Shallow right field. Catch is made by Daz Cameron. Mike Cameron's son, and Mike was one heck of an outfielder.
Oh, was he ever.
Part of the Ken Griffey Jr. deal. Hyundai pitch arsenal.
We talked about the fastball at 95 miles an hour, and he throws it close to 60%. You think about baseball now, a curveball league. More breaking balls. In fact, more breaking balls thrown than fastballs in the aggregate. So this is a guy that uses his fastball a little more than normal.
First time ever for Tommy Edman to face the Detroit Tigers. Pitch taken inside. Average is down in September, but the production is up because the bottom of the order is getting on for Tommy Edman. Shift left side of the infield, and the 2-0 pitch.
In my mind, he's made for the 2 spot. I like him there. I liked him there every time I've seen him in that spot. Being a switch hitter, I think, is part of the reason. He also tends to make things happen. You've got more speed at the top of your lineup behind Wong, so you could do things with both of them perhaps if they both get on. And again, the average last year as a rookie in the big leagues was outstanding. I know we'd like to walk more, but he is walking at a little bit higher rate, and he's getting hit a fair amount of times, especially from the left side.
And the 2-1. Off speed pitch at 84 miles per hour. This young man's got a good arm. You can already see that.
Oh, yeah.
And the 3-1. Edman out to center field. Victor Reyes out number 2. Tigers defensively. Reyes in center, anchoring that trio. They'd like Castro and Scope up the middle, and Romine is behind the plate. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
Castro has actually been their best hitter of late, the shortstop. He had 2 hits in the game yesterday, and they were the only 2 hits the Tigers had in that 19-0 loss. So think about how that was a full loss. Let's put it that way. When you can't get guys on base and you give up a 19 spot.
But the beauty of baseball, you bounce right back.
You bet you.
Here's Paul Goldschmidt in the air down the right field line, and that'll drop. Paul Goldschmidt leads all of baseball in on-base percentage, coming in at .461 through his first 35 games of the year. And if he keeps up this pace, he would be the first Cardinal to lead the National League in on-base percentage since Albert Pujols' .443 in 2009, the first to lead all of Major League Baseball. Big Mac did it in '98, .470. The summer of '98.
He had a Big Mac type home run in Chicago. I heard that it was measured at between .430 and .440. But I also heard from another source that it was hit so high and so deep that they really didn't have an accurate way to count it. So let's just say it was a bomb.
Yeah.
Out on Waveland.
Crushed. The 1-2 pitch. And a swing and a miss. First strikeout. Flaherty struck out the side in the first. Back to work in the second. No score. Third time that Jack Flaherty in his career has struck out the side in the first inning. That was impressive.
Yeah, he just had it all working. The good slider, and he was going up with the fastball too. And that's Jack at his best. You know, he's going to get strikeouts, and he didn't do it with a ton of pitches either. It's not as if he threw 25 pitches in the inning. So being efficient getting the strikeouts is when Jack's at his best.
16 pitches in the first, 4 sliders, 3 swings and misses. Got a couple of strikeouts with that slider. Jamer Candelario, the first baseman, Willie Castro, and Travis Demeritte. The 1-1. Pulled to first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, 4 up and 4 down. Jack Flaherty at home this season, 3 starts at a 1.59 ERA, 14 strikeouts, couple of walks, 1 home run allowed. Take it back even further. You go back to the All-Star break of a season ago, and the numbers are basically similar, right around a 1.5 the ERA. I mean, he's been dominant here at Busch Stadium.
Well, he's been dominant for sure since the second half of the season started last year. I mean, he has a really historic run since then. Every 5th day, he just seemed like he was getting better and better. And he carried it into this year. You know, obviously the stops and the starts have been a difficult thing for everybody. And to have Flaherty just go a couple of innings or 1 inning or 2 innings the first couple of starts is going to skew all the numbers and kind of be difficult to compare. But as you go into late September and hopefully beyond, love to see Jack Flaherty carry this team.
So the past 10 starts since the break, 1.27 ERA. 73 strikeouts, 13 walks here at home. Willie Castro, the switch hitter. Good pitch. Not many lefties are going to get that pitch.
Late break, and it breaks to the right spot too. Yadi gives the target, and there it is, just down and in. It's a strike until it's not, which is about 2 inches in front of the plate. Late movement.
The 2-1. Lost the bat and into the netting, into the Cardinal dugout.
Now that is no way to social distance.
No, sir. Two and two.
This typically happens when you get a pitch you didn't think you were going to get, and you're out in front and you try to hold up, and then the bat goes there. Did you ever do that? I don't think I ever did.
Unfortunately, Ricky, too many times, and even in batting practice. That's when it's really bad.
Yeah, good point.
That's when you know you probably should just give it up.
Yeah, well, I was just working on something.
These are 2 historic franchises, met in 1934, 68, and the 2006 World Series. Cardinals and the Tigers. Swing and a miss. It's strikeout number 4 for Flaherty.
Yeah, I'm thinking of another similarity between these 2 teams. As you think about the great Tiger teams, there's the pitch, down and in again, hitting his spot. But the legacy of the great Tigers, you think of Al Kaline, who the Tigers lost this year, and of course on the Cardinals side, the great Lou Brock. And it's just, you know, part of the history of the organizations and part of their connection too.
And a fastball taken low by Travis Demeritte, the left fielder, hitting 182. Lou Brock was at his best in the Fall Classic. 68. He hit .464, 7 steals, 6 extra base hits.
Well, I always say this when I think of Lou. One of his favorite things to say was that the stars come out at night.
You bet.
You know, it was kind of a line about, you know, the 5 o'clock hitter. That's something we've always talked about, the guy that could really hit well in BP, like apparently you couldn't. And the idea was hitting at 5 o'clock is one thing, but Lou would say, yeah, but the stars come out at night. And he certainly was a star.
Bob Gibson, that famous Game 1, he struck out 17, and the highest World Series OPS all time. Gehrig, Ruth, Jackson, and Lou Brock. That's incredible. So the 2-out walk, first base runner for the Tigers. It was Mickey Lolich, who had three complete game victories and earned the MVP in 1968.
I usually try not to bring up the name Mickey Lolich in front of a lot of our Cardinal friends that may have been a part of those series in the 60s, and he was tough to hit. Came through at the right time. Lolich did. That was some Cardinal team, though.
Awesome. We were there, was it last year or the year before, that Jose Feliciano was there in interleague play and performed the national anthem. It was really neat to see again as he came back out as a famous national anthem. But Tim McCarver was working that series.
I remember that.
And we were talking off air about the 68 World Series, and somebody came in from the Tigers, and I'm telling you, he's still upset about losing the 1968 World Series.
That would be one of those guys I don't bring up Lolich to. May have been Joe Price, who does radio for them, who was part of that team. And of course, Al Kaline was always at the ballpark too, and loved seeing him. Willie Horton. I mean, they're just some.
Ricky, I'm telling you, he is upset.
Yeah.
Did not want to talk about it.
So what you're saying is we're hoping that we know Tim watches all of Cardinal baseball. We hope he's kind of getting a sandwich right now during this inning.
Now, Dan, why did you have to go down that road? Cameron's at the plate. Talk about him. His dad was a good player. That's what he wants. You know that.
Of course.
Now 67, go ahead and talk about that.
All day long.
Right. What about 64? Here's a 1-1 pitch to Daz Cameron.
I've said this before, but I asked Todd Worrell at one of our fantasy camps about the '85 World Series and the Denkinger play at first base. And my question was, and of course I was there also, but I wanted to know his take on it. After all these years, have you kind of gotten over it and less bitter about it and feel better about it? And he said, well, very honest answer. He said, well, frankly, it bothers me more now than it ever has.
What about for you?
I've gotten over it. But I understand what he's saying. I mean, he could have been an MVP of the World Series. And he could have had a ring that he never got.
Catch made in right. Detroit and St. Louis, 3 World Series. And this guy closed out '06, and what a career it's been, and still going for both those guys. And Yachty is due up third when we come back. Download the MLB app to get in-game video highlights, pitch by pitch, breaking news, and more. The MLB app. And a strike to the Cardinals shortstop Paul DeYoung, hitting .293 with 3 home runs and has driven in 17. Ravello on deck, the designated hitter. And Yadier Molina pulled left side to short. 1 away. should mention that Ravello now is up, and so is Austin Dean, and that was addressed before the game.
Yeah, Austin Dean is up from the alternate site, and John Mozeliak saying he's been looking for an opportunity to have him here. Well, why is there an opportunity? Well, Johan Oviedo was put on the COVID list today, and it was really done as a precaution. He is not tested positive, and of course has no symptoms, but he did come in contact with somebody who was tested positive, and the Cardinals are just trying to do everything they can to be smart about this. And they did say that Oviedo had no contact with the players after that, and it was not out of the protocol either. So Mozeliak was very adamant about that. It's just kind of a thing that happens, as we all know, and so he could still possibly come back after a couple of positive tests, or negative tests I should say, and be able to positive outcomes, and be able to maybe even start as early as Monday. So that's the good news on Oviedo.
1-2 the count on Rangel Ravello.
And Nabil Crismat will be the 29th player for game 2.
Inside to Ravello. You know, Dean might give you that pop of offense that the Cardinals need.
He might.
Or Ravello, who can play the outfield as well.
And we've been talking about the names O'Neill, Bader, Thomas, Carlson, and we may have 2 more names to put in the hat.
Sure. What'd you think about the demotion, if you will, of Carlson?
I think it was probably, well, I do think it was the right thing to do, and maybe could have even been done a little sooner, but you're just hoping that he would have gotten out of the funk he was in, and he was not in that funk the first 10 days in the big leagues. He was hitting the ball right on the nose. He looked great, and I think maybe it just wore on him that the results didn't happen, and I think he probably pressed a little bit, and when you got a young player pressing, you don't want him to kind of float off into the kind of wrong kind of experience being repeated. So I think it was a smart thing to do.
3-2 the count on Rangel Ravello.
But I'll also say this about Dylan Carlson. He's going to be an everyday outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals for a long time at some point.
And it could play anywhere.
Oh, right.
I thought his defense really stood out.
Several outfield assists. I think he had 4, and the arm was good. The range is good. It's going to happen for him at some point.
3-2 pitch. Good at bat by Rangel Ravello. 1-out walk. Reminder that Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest brought to you by Bud Light Seltzer, unquestionably good. And by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. Yadier Molina, by the way, in 2006 in the postseason hit .358. Hit .412 against the Tigers in the World Series. And had hits in all 5 games. And a 3-hit performance in the clinching game of Game 5 at Busch Stadium.
And you do not have to adjust your television set. He is in fact wearing number 21 today in honor of the great Roberto Clemente. And it just seems odd to have Yadi in a different number, but I know that he's wearing that with pride today. I'm sure at a very deep level he's again, honored, I think, is the best word to describe what it's like to represent Roberto Clemente and his legacy.
He was the 2018 Roberto Clemente Award recipient through his foundation and his work there, the ongoing humanitarian efforts, aid in the recovery from Hurricane Maria, devastated Puerto Rico in 2017. So it had very deep meaning for the native of Puerto Rico and his brother working on the radio side. Spanish broadcast with Polo Asensio. 1 ball, 1 strike. I don't know if you remember this, and maybe you recall the number that he wore, but when he came up to the big leagues, he did not wear number 4.
No, he did not.
Number 41.
That's right.
Runner goes, and that'll be a foul ball. Pretty good jump by Ravello.
I think Yadi's a perfect guy to do a little hit and running with, and I think it's even maybe makes more sense with a left-handed pitcher. You're going to be able to see the field better, see everything right in front of you, be able to hit the ball the other way, and not be as susceptible to the swing and miss, perhaps. There's the defense. They're giving him some room on that right side. Yadi could punch that through the right side pretty easily.
And a fly ball lifted out to deep left field. It's at the wall. Gone! Yadier Molina, on a day in which he's wearing number 21, homers Roberto Clemente Day. And you know it's extra special for him. 2-run homer, Yadi, 2-0 St. Louis. You know that means something extra special to him.
I don't know if that was sweat or tears he was wiping as he hit home plate, but Yadi can be stoic from time to time, but nothing stoic about that trip around the bases for number 21, Yadier Molina. He jumped when he hit first base when he saw that it was gone. What a great moment that was. So here's the swing of Molina. The ball clearing the wall. And right about that time, Yadi was jumping up in the air as he hit first base. And here it is. You think that didn't mean anything to him?
That's awesome.
Oh, that's the joy of sports too, isn't it?
Yep.
That's what we've missed for 4 or 5 months, Danny, is those moments that just kind of, you know, it's our reality TV. And it says more than just a 2-0 Cardinal lead right there. We'll take that too. But the human drama is what I love.
3-2 the count on Tyler O'Neill. Also significant RBIs 929 and 930, which tied and then passed Ted Simmons as he continues to move up significant milestones every single day, it seems like, on the all-time charts in various categories. Walk, 2-run homer, now another walk. Here's Bader. And a strike to the Cardinals center fielder. So he's now 7th all-time in Cardinals history. 930 runs batted in for Yadier Molina.
We've had some fun and some drama, and we've only played an inning and a half. Bottom of the second inning. We've got a lot of baseball ahead today.
And he's 10th all-time as he passed Johnny Mize, the home run list. He's closing in on 2,000 hits as well. He's got a good shot to get that before the season is through. That's significant. Runner goes, and it's hit out of play. He made that stolen straight up.
Yeah, it looks like they want to run on either Skubal or the catcher Romine, who you mentioned Cameron's father played the big leagues. So did Austin Romine. Romine has been a Yankee for the last few years. But the Cardinals have some tells here. It looks like in the early going is they've run a couple of times. Something they have not done much of in the past few weeks. Not as many stolen bases for sure. Think about the scouting dilemma this week. You're playing 4 different teams in 4 different days of games. You go from the Twins to the, well, you had the Cubs, then you have the Twins, then the Tigers, and then Cincinnati. 4 different teams, 4 different days. So how do you scout him? How do you get ready for him? It's just you don't have enough hours in the day to do that.
The last time the Cardinals played 4 different opponents on 4 successive days, which they had a game, was 1973. Cubs, Expos, Mets, and Braves. But in '73, you weren't scouting like you are now.
No, that's right.
And a swing and a miss, so a strikeout of Bader. Second strikeout for Skubal.
Well, it's fair to assume, Dan, that they're not scouting the way they did in 2019 either.
Exactly.
And a lot of things you think about the Cardinals defense and the base running and the things you say, well, let's work on that. Well, there's not many hours where you can work on it because the players come to the ballpark later and they have to be separated. Even when they have meetings, they're separated. They're trying to meet outside in concourses and on the field with their ball talk. I mean, it's just a different world, as we all know. And we know that from prior years, players would get to the ballpark about noon for a 7 o'clock game. Well, that's not happening.
There's Lane Thomas. I don't know if you saw the comments by Javi Baez, but he was asked about some of the struggles that he's had this year, and he said a lot of us, and there goes O'Neill, and a throw down to second, not even close. So stolen base, Tyler O'Neill. But Baez talked about being, so everybody relying on video, in game, where you can go back to the video room, look at your at bats, look at a pitcher, look at a guy coming in, whatever. He said we just can't do that this year.
Well, I saw that you had a shot in the Cubs dugout of several Cub players with a little tablet, which you're allowed to have. You can have an iPad or whatever it is during the game. You just can't have it real-time information. It has to be preloaded. But they're all looking at video of pitchers, and I mean, it is part of the system now. People are relying upon it, and it's almost like, a necessity now instead of just playing on instinct.
I wonder if that's going to change, though, when we get back to, let's hope, normalcy in 2021, where guys do show up later to the ballpark and they're finding that maybe it is beneficial to stay away from the ballpark.
There will probably be a pulling back from where it was. I don't know it's going to go all the way back to what it was 15 or 20 years ago, but probably there will be some teams that say maybe less is more.
And Thomas hits it out of play. Well, this is supposed to be a year in which the Cardinals took a hard look at Lane Thomas and Bader and O'Neill, and Thomas isn't even at 30 at bats yet this season.
I guess everybody has to take some care in not over evaluating in a short sample size.
Strikeout of Lane Thomas, 2 in the inning, back to back, but Yadier Molina, his 3rd home run. Roberto Clemente Day, and kissed the patch, number 21, as he crossed home plate. Special moment here at the ballpark.
2-0 Cardinals as we head to the top of the 3rd inning. Will Colton Wong and Tommy Edman batting 1 and 2 for the Cardinals in their lineup today for the 27th time this season. And the two have been good table setters so far this year for Mike Shilt's Redbirds. The two see about 8 pitches per plate appearance this season, which is good for 4th most in the National League for hitters 1 and 2 in the lineup. But I asked Mike Schilt about his top 2 guys in the lineup this morning. He said both those guys, you have to pitch to them. They're not going to expand the zone. They'll put the ball in play and they'll take their walks. Edman's gotten better at that this year, and Colton, of course, has had success this year and last year against those lefties. But they're hard guys to game plan for at the top of the lineup, with Tommy being a switch hitter, and of course you've got protection ahead of Goldie and take quality at bats. He said that's really all we're asking them to do, Danny.
All right, thank you. It's Austin Romine, Paredes, and then Reyes. So trying to get production from the top of the lineup. Cardinals getting production from Yadier Molina. Good slider there with a 2-run homer on Roberto Clemente Day, with the off day yesterday being celebrated here at the ballpark this afternoon in St. Louis.
I think that's the way you write the script for the bottom of the 2nd, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Couldn't be any better.
No.
Maybe a slammer.
I'll take what we just saw. That was pretty cool. Still got time, too.
Yeah, that's right. Not over yet. And like that moment, like so many moments that we've had in 2020, it's a little bit different without 40,000 people here in the ballpark to enjoy it.
Strikeout for Flaherty, number 5. T-Mobile ticket to the game, so some news around Major League Baseball. Adam Duvall, 3 home runs, and his club put up 29. Yep, 29-9 over Miami. Trevor Bauer, 7 2/3, a win over the Cubs. Corbin Burns, 7 innings pitched, and that's the win that Ricky was talking about over Detroit yesterday. How about that? 29 runs.
So the second pitcher in the game for the Marlins, you remember Jordan Yamamoto last year, the rookie who pitched against the Cardinals twice, and the Cardinals couldn't hit him. I mean, he was just unbelievable. Well, he gave up 13 runs in 2 2/3 innings on 11 hits yesterday.
Sometimes you got to wear it, huh?
He's wearing it big time. I mean, you've got to pitch an awful lot of innings to get that ERA back into normalcy, and just hard to imagine 29-9.
Isaac Paredes, good breaking ball. By the way, that's not even that's a National League record. That's not the overall record. Texas put up a 30 spot in a game against Baltimore. And by the way, if you had a ticket to the doubleheader, you had one more game to go. That was game 1 of a doubleheader.
Oh my.
There's the first base hit for the Tigers. And it's a single into right. So first time through the lineup, 5 strikeouts, a walk, and a base hit.
Kind of a half swing from Paredes on a ball that was almost by him, and he just dropped the bat head on it. And really just I got to put this ball in play type swing. Almost no whip to it, but good result.
Victor Reyes with a runner at first, struck out back in the first when today's starter Jack Flaherty struck out the side. That snaps an 0 for 23 for the runner at first base, Paredes.
Should say the Tigers have had a number of injuries also this year, and I guess that's true of most teams in baseball for a variety of reasons. But you know, they thought it would be a rebuilding year, but they find themselves 2 games behind the Yankees in the wild card, and something to play for today and going forward.
Tell you what, Ricky, what has happened to the Yankees? And if you really break down their schedule and what they've done, their winning has been against the Boston Red Sox and just a little bit outside of that schedule. That's it.
They've dropped 7 of their last 10. They're now 2 games behind Toronto in 3rd place. They're just a game over 500.
And the 1-1 pitch by Flaherty. Now they've had their fair share of injuries, but no one's feeling sorry for them. I mean, look what's going on with Miami. Don Mattingly's done an amazing job with the Marlins. Obviously, Mike Schilt. What's happened here with the Cardinals, and not only the COVID situation, but you're missing your closer in Hicks. You've had significant time missed with Martinez, and Michaelis is out. KK's missing time. Dexter Fowler is out.
But we thought 2020, with a 60-game schedule, you might be surprised at who's in the playoffs just because somebody gets hot and things go right, and injury-wise and all of that. Well, there are currently 5 teams in the American League that are playing over 600 baseball. Tampa Bay, the White Sox, Oakland, Minnesota, and Cleveland. So there's some surprises in that.
And Detroit is hanging around.
And they're right behind.
Toughest divisions in the game.
Houston
2-2 the count.
Houston Astros only playing 500 baseball. The playoff picture is just starting to kind of come into play on how that's going to, where it's going to be, how it's going to be done. 8 teams in each division, but it's going to be fascinating going forward.
And a base hit into right, so back-to-back singles. Runners at first and third.
was good base running by Paredes from first base. That ball was hit pretty hard. I didn't know for sure whether he would try to make it or not. He kind of maybe deked a little bit that he wasn't going to go, but he just took off and no throw into third.
That's the second time that Lane Thomas has not been aggressive coming up and throwing.
I think he was a little worried about that ball getting past him, and he was defensive. I would agree the way he fielded that ball, not charging it as hard as you'd like to see. And you know, that's where you show it off. Show off your arm.
And the other day it allowed a run to score, and there's no way that run should have scored against Minnesota. None.
It was bizarre.
Jonathan Scope struck out back in the first inning. Flaherty has struck out 5, struck out the side in inning number 1. And Lane has a good throwing arm, and if he hits the cut, it's cut off, and it's still first and third.
And that's the key. Hit the cutoff, man, and might as well. I mean, there's no reason not to. And you know, you look at the Cardinals outfielders with O'Neill and Bader and Lane. You're talking about 3 guys that are rated as plus outfielders.
And to the point of this is your chance to show what you can do. These are your 2.5 weeks.
So show what you can do, but don't overdo it. I mean, and by overdoing it, don't try to do something you're not capable of doing and then end up making mistakes. I think that's part of it too.
And that ball was hit on a line out in front of the plate, and Yadi wisely lets it roll foul with no one covering the plate, so it's 0-2.
There's some instinct on Yadi to know that he does not have a chance to get the runner coming home. He just judged it correctly, that if he picks up that ball in fair territories, he cannot get Paredes coming in. Man knows how to think baseball, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Tigers have not been a great offensive team this year. However, 282 the average with runners in scoring position, 4th best in baseball. 0-2 pitch. Pitch number 20 of the inning right here. And the 1-2 pitch to Scope. Out of play. And the 1-2, trying to get him to chase that slider. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, you're hoping for either he rolls over on that slider or maybe chases for a strikeout. We'll see. The 2-2 pitch. So from 0-2 to a full count. We'll see if Ron Gardenhire wants to start the runner. But then you have the potential of a strike him out, throw him out. It could be a risky play. You don't know.
I would guess,
especially with Cabrera on deck,
that he wouldn't. That's right.
They are not running, and the pitch is hit up the middle. Wong backhands. He'll step on the bag. Double play. Did he stay on? No. Off the bag. And the run will score. So they get the force at second base. Paredes will score. Goldschmidt could not stay on the bag. As the Cardinals will take a look. He did everything to try to Stay in the bag at first. Ooh, boy,
Oh,
is that close.
That is close, and the throw a little wide from Colton Wong. And the Cardinals want to look at it.
Thought the first angle he may have been, and then I look at the second, and I'm like, I'm not so sure.
I think the deciding factor, clearly, no question about it, it's his birthday. Give it to him.
So you want an early gift before he goes home tonight?
I think it's fair.
Leave it to you to say it's fair.
Well, we all have our points of view. Here's the play. Wong maybe could have even taken one more step to make the throw more sure. And he's out.
Oh, he's on the bag there, yeah.
And he is indeed out. Now the umpires agree.
Good stretch by Goldschmidt, turns into a double play. Download the McDonald's app for medium fries for just $1 after any Cardinals home run. He's got the paper, the Post-Dispatch, and in a robe. As Wong is looking to bunt his way on as we start playing the home half of the third.
I think Fred Bird is making a statement about just how many hours he's going to be at the ballpark.
I think so.
Watching Cardinals baseball. No off days. You got to pack a lunch and apparently pack your robe.
Some type of headgear as well.
It's his nightcap, I would say.
Guess so. 2-0 on Wong, who's flied to right.
Reading the paper.
Yep. 3-0. Cardinals have a 2-run homer hit by Yadier Molina. Skubal needed 31 pitches in the second, walked a couple of batters, gave up the home run to Molina. There's a strike.
If anybody can get his team to play again the day after a 19-0 loss, I think it'd be Ron Gardenhire. I mean, I had the pleasure of being around him a few different times, and he's an honest guy. He's a positive guy. He's just kind of, very traditional in a lot of ways. He was a player himself. He gets kind of the grind that everybody goes through, and I think players appreciate his honesty. And I think at some point you take on the. I think you take on the persona of your manager. Teams will do that. Think about the players the Cardinals had that played for Tony La Russa. I would say Chris Carpenter was a Tony La Russa player. Woody Williams was a Tony La Russa player. Their personality was just intense. Gardenhire,
Albert.
yes, Gardenhire a little more laid back. But he's not afraid to get thrown out of a game, though. He'll defend you. Most ejections all time. Well, both La Russa and Gardenhire make that list.
Bobby Cox at 161.
Well, I think the last 40 or 50 were just to give himself a bigger lead so no one could catch him.
I happen to kind of agree with that. There was just, some kind of theater to it.
Yeah,
you knew it was coming.
Well, and I will say that of Bobby Cox's era, there were managers, and even before that era, that would have believed that when things weren't going well, best thing you can do is get thrown out of the game to wake up your team. Instead of kind of airing them out in the clubhouse meeting, I will show how I feel about them by taking it out on the umpires, and they'll see, I don't want to hear that.
Did you ever have a guy that you caught, meaning a manager, say, kind of under his breath, throw me out, but I'm acting as if I'm really getting into you,
Yeah, there's no doubt they were doing that. I mean, there's a Whitey Herzog story where he came out and was arguing a play and just violently arguing, and I believe it was with John Kibler. I'm not sure who the umpire was, but I think it was Kibler, and he said, look, John, I know he was safe, but there are 40,000 people that were out, so think he was out, so I'm going to keep yelling at you and go ahead and throw me out.
Let's get the fans into it. Let's go nuts.
And then, of course, there are stories of umpires not throwing out managers because they know the manager wants to get tossed to go because he's got dinner somewhere or friends in town or whatever it might be. He said, hey, especially spring training.
Oh, sure. 2-1 the count on Tommy Edman. Well, the Cardinals have made the lefty work. He's already up to 56 pitches. Nobody out here in the third. as Edman hits it down into the corner. Wong to second. Wong to third, being waved in. Colton Wong will score a double by Tommy Edman. 3-0 Cardinals. There's that speed at the top of the lineup that Erica was talking about and coming through.
And the 1-2 punch of Wong and Tommy Edman coming through. This is a high off-speed pitch, and Tommy just jumped on it. And that ball took a long time to get out of the corner in left field for some reason. And there's the reason. Either way, Colton Wong was going to score. Pop Warner had that wave going on the minute he hit second base.
So the Tigers had the long game last night, and now they've got the bullpen stretching, and we'll see if someone grabs a baseball out there. And Goldschmidt, who struck out back in the first, digs in for the second time.
A long game followed by travel, followed by a day doubleheader.
Not easy to do. Shift on the left side. Big gap in left center.
Again, nobody's going to feel sorry for him. That's not the point. But there are times where it's hard to play at your best, physically and mentally.
Three and one the count. Skubal has walked three, struck out three. Two-run homer hit by Molina. RBI double moments ago by Tommy Edman. The two hits.
Jed Jerko, by the way, had 2 home runs in that game for Milwaukee.
And taken high, the 4th walk. Subway Restaurants proud to feature the Cardinals fan favorite for September, the steak and cheese sub. It's fueling fans around St. Louis all month long.
I did check the time of game on that game that was at Comerica Park yesterday. It was only 3 hours, just a little over 3 hours, which is normal, actually shorter than an average game. So I guess from the Tigers' point of view, at least Milwaukee scored quickly.
If you're going to lose, what do they say?
Lose quickly.
First and second, and a ball to Paul DeYoung, grounded out to short.
Boy, he's on the edge right here. Skubal is. Chance for a knockout punch here in the 3rd inning.
Play him to pull on the infield with a shift. Gap in left center. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ravello on deck, and the 1-1 pitch. Three straight games with a run batted in for Edman, 3rd time this season. And a ground ball beats the shift and into center field. Edman will score, and that'll make it a 4-0 Cardinal lead. And DeYoung up to 18 runs batted in.
I think Scope actually went the wrong way initially. Took a step to his left and then had to go back to his right. Here's the beating of the shift by DeYoung. The step to the left, then he did not have enough time to go back right, and the Cardinals tack on another.
So that'll be it for Skubal, and we'll have a pitching change when we come back. 4-0 Cardinals as we play in game 1 of this doubleheader. Edward Jones would like to congratulate the Cardinals 2020 Hall of Fame class. Tom Hurd, John Tudor, Bill White. Edward Jones proud to partner with the Cardinals to recognize the organization's most cherished assets, their Hall of Famers. Edward Jones. Joe Jimenez also wearing number 21 to honor Roberto Clemente. It's our Chevy call to the pen.
He's got the high ERA, but he's been the closer. 25-year-old right-hander. Has 4 saves for Detroit, but you've got to kind of use whoever's available right now.
And a fastball to Ravello. Jimenez meeting with Yachty right before our first pitch, about 10 minutes or so before our first pitch. Exchanging uniforms, taking a picture before the game. And Ravello pulls it foul. So runners at the corners. 4-0 our score, bottom of the third. And Ravello sends one out to deep left field. It's at the wall, and it's caught. Nice play made in left as Demeric came up with it. Runner tags up. That's Goldschmidt, and it's a 5-0 St. Louis lead.
I am stunned he was able to run that ball down in the gap. I thought that was a gapper for sure off the bat of Ravello, and it didn't really carry very much into left center either, but still a very productive out to say the least. He hit that ball on the nose. There's the range of Demeric and a nice play over the shoulder.
Cardinals are 15-0, only undefeated team in baseball this year when scoring 5 or more runs in a game this year. And went 64-10 last year when they scored 5 or more.
And the score is
5-0. We'll see if it holds. Here's Molina with a runner at first base and 1 down. And the Nissan drive of the game, Yadier Molina with a 2-run homer back in the second inning, his 3rd of the year. He now has driven in 14. And Yachty sends one out to center. Catch is made. If you're wondering, there have been 33 Puerto Rican born players that have donned a Cardinals uniform. Probably the most famous of those players in this ball game today, but could also make a case that Orlando Cepeda is pretty darn famous too. Hall of Famer.
You bet.
And O'Neill hits it out of play.
Well, I think that's one thing that we maybe under celebrate, which is one of the reasons I love the celebration of Roberto Clemente. Not that it's the same reason as Jackie Robinson Day, but Jackie Robinson Day has really the same reasons for a lot of Hispanic players. As you think about the players that weren't allowed to play in the big leagues in the 30s and the 40s and prior. And
O'Neill hits it to left field at the wall. Goodbye. RBI, 2-run homer, Tyler O'Neill. 5th home run of the season for O'Neill. 7-0 Cardinals.
Love to see that from Tyler O'Neill. And the Tigers have to be thinking, oh no, here we go again. 7-0 Cardinals. And this was a no-doubter right down central at 95. And over the bullpen, over the Tigers bullpen. I believe it hit about 3 rows up. So not as muscular and as strong as he was in 2019, but I'd say strong enough.
In 2020, you put your mask on too. The 2-0 pitch. Yanked down the left field line.
Boy, the Cardinals are just teeing off here, aren't they?
Yep.
I mean, the sacrifice fly by Ravello. Yachty got under his a little bit to center field, but they're just not fooled right now. A lot of good swings.
Two and two the count. And that's a base hit into left field. So big 3rd inning for the Cardinals. They've had a couple of walks and 4 hits.
A lot of balls in the middle of the plate. Breaking ball, it broke, but the location not good enough to get Bader. 25-year-old right-hander Joe Jimenez from Bayamon, Puerto Rico.
Lane Thomas struck out his first time up. Cardinals have out hit the Tigers 5-2. A pair of 2-run homers. That's in the dirt. Bo Burrow is up in the bullpen for Detroit. Austin Gomber will go in game 2 for St. Louis.
Yadier Molina also from Bayamon, Puerto Rico.
That's fouled back.
So those two sharing a lot today, Jimenez and Yadi.
Well, if you go back to the 2nd inning of yesterday's game for Detroit, they now have allowed 26 runs in their last 11 innings. That gets away, and Bader head first slide into second.
Love the hustle. Love the hustle. The ball gets away, you go. Instinct. Forget the score. It's just the 3rd inning. There's the secondary lead. He sees it and takes off.
While we have a moment, quick word from Great Southern Bank.
Split some pregame pizza 5 ways. Send money anywhere, anytime with Great Southern Bank's mobile app.
Three and one to count on Lane Thomas. Fouled back. Take a moment, recognize our season ticket holders of the game, and we have Jeff Larkins, the Bruni family, Kimberly Edwards, the Redbird flock, Rick Zamora, thank you for your continued dedication to the St. Louis Cardinals. 3-2 pitch. And Thomas hits it in the air deep left. And that ball is gone. Into the bullpen it goes. It's another 2-run homer for St. Louis, their third of the day. And they're pouring it on here in game one.
Well, you said the outfielders are going to get their chances, and then they've got to do something with them. And Thomas certainly did something with that last delivery, knocking out Jimenez.
9-0, a pitching change again. The Phillips 66 home run kit sweepstakes for the chance to win exclusive Cardinals merchandise like an autographed item. Visit www.cardinals.com/Phillips66 to enter. Here's Wong, and that's it out of play.
You have a long stretch of games ahead as we look at the numbers for Beau Burrows. This is his rookie season. 5.06 ERA. The Cardinals, what a nice feel-good start to this long streak of games for them. I mean, you just want to get guys going, and you get guys going offensively, get them feeling good about where they are, and honestly, you just keep swinging, keep hitting. Give Mike Shildt a headache trying to make a lineup. Make it be 12 guys that he wants to play, and not trying to figure out, well, who's not hot, who do I have to replace. Make it a hard choice for him.
2-2 the count. It all started with Wong. He walked and scored on the double by Tommy Edman. This might be a game that you see in Austin Dean or Matt Wieters come in and allow then a Yadier Molina to get off his feet. You have Matt Carpenter on your bench, Brad Miller, and Wong singles into right field. Yeah, it's something you think about, is just trying to get guys off their feet if and when possible. As you well know, with all these games coming up.
You'd like to see a game like this happen after they played 7 in a row instead of after an off day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Isn't
the
that
difference.
the truth?
So it may be badly timed in that way, but there's the really quiet lower half for Kolten Wong. He doesn't have that dramatic leg kick anymore. I just think he's found himself as a hitter.
And a fly ball lifted into left field. Demerit is there and makes the catch. Big inning for the Cardinals, a 7 spot. They lead 9-0.
Third, it's a 9-0 Cardinal lead at Busch Stadium. Dan and Rick told you about Johan Oviedo going on the IL for precautionary reasons. Well, it's going to cost the Cardinal rotation some more reshuffling yet again. Mike Shildt said it's really normal now. We haven't been able to piece together a pitching schedule all season. It's a continual puzzle that we put together on the fly. The short-term puzzle, who takes Oviedo's next scheduled start on Sunday? Shildt says Carlos Martinez may be ready. KK threw again today. According to Shildt, feels more normal now. Said he could be a puzzle piece at some point if he's medically cleared. Danny, the rotation has taken some hits in 2020.
Boy, has it ever. Wainwright goes Friday night against Luis Castillo. Dakota Hudson, Anthony DeSclafani on Saturday. Then Sunday, as Jim mentioned, still don't know, against Tyler Mahle.
I'm glad Jim brought up KK, because Mo was really excited that he's doing these baseball related activities and he's out and he feels a lot better. And I've just been thinking about how much of a dilemma that is, trying to figure out what to do with him, because it's not a normal baseball related injury. If somebody pulls a hamstring, we all know how many days that is. Your elbow's a little sore, or you get, we get all the arm injuries and all the leg injuries in baseball, but what he has is very different. And what Mo said is they're trying to figure out how to weigh the risk of him playing versus him pitching, and taking blood thinners. I mean, people understand what that means. I mean, there's a risk associated with that, and so you just don't even know whose call that is. Frankly, is it his? Is it the medical? I mean, I'm just not sure the combined effort of trying to figure out what the right thing to do there is. But it's nice to see him throwing, regardless.
From the baseball perspective, man, has he been good?
Oh my goodness, yes. That's not a question.
Nope.
And from a need point of view, that's not a question.
No.
But you don't want need to force you into the wrong decision also.
Base hit for Cabrera. He'll stop at first. Thomas over to bring it in. So a little flare hit down the right field line. And a leadoff base hit here in the 4th inning.
I think we've seen this from Cabrera before. Talk about very little lower half movement. Just drops the bat head on it. We know his power, but he's also able to get hits. That's the complete player, complete hitter that Miggy is.
Jeimer Candelario. Play behind the runner at first with a left-handed batter. Lights now on here at Busch Stadium. Cloudy day here in St. Louis. (9-0) lead, so play behind, and Candelario sends it out to deep right field. Thomas back at the wall, and it's gone. A 2-run homer. His 6th of the year, and the Tigers get on the board to make it 9-2.
I guess Candelario liked the lights coming on. And there's something about that last breaking ball from Flaherty that he liked too. Looked to be down in the zone, but in the middle of the plate. May have been a changeup. It was a changeup, and it just sat there. It didn't have the downward movement to it, and he got it up in the air and out.
Willie Castro, switch hitter, struck out back in the 2nd inning.
So you've got an interesting thought process if you're Mike Schilt and Mike Maddox about how to handle Jack Flaherty in this game too. How far do you go with him, understanding what you have ahead, which actually that could go both ways. You may need a starter on short days rest. Do you have him go just fewer innings and use more relievers, which of course is rolling the dice.
This is popped up, foul territory. At some point though, Jack's got to get stretched out too.
Or do you push him as far as he can go, regardless of really even how he's doing in this game? If he gives up 4 or 5 runs, do you just let him go out and go as close to 7 as he can go, figuring this is his normal day and you wouldn't bring him back early anyway? I mean, I just think that you make the decision for today, but everything you do today affects tomorrow and the next day, and with double headers in the future, that just compounds the problem.
Sure. Here's Demerit, who walked back in the 2nd inning. One ball and 1 strike.
At this rate, Dan, Jack, assuming everything goes well, would be in the 90 pitch area, in the 90s through 6 innings. Again, depending on I'm talking about normal innings going forward. I thought about something with Demerit, the batter at the plate, on the ball that went into the left field corner, and he didn't really throw the ball in very well. Well, he pitched yesterday. I wonder if that was an issue, and I wonder if that was an issue with Pop Warner being so aggressive with Wong running.
It was a good pickup by you, because if you're not a pitcher and you're out there on a mound, I mean,
it's different.
Yeah.
This may or may not have been a strike.
And Pop Warner was waving Wong by the time. I don't even think he was at second base, and he was waving him in.
Right.
And that's scouting. I mean, that's understanding, knowing that if, hey, we get a ball down in the corner or there's going to be a relay, we're bringing him in. We're going to test him. And a strike at the knees to Daz Cameron.
Felipe Lopez pitched in a game for the Cardinals and tried to throw too much the next day and was hurt and was out for a long time.
Yeah. Boy, his dad was one heck of a player, Mike Cameron. Defensively, really a great player. And he was part of the Ken Griffey Jr. deal that brought Jr. to Cincinnati. Spent 17 years in the big leagues, did his dad. And a strike. 2-2. Three-2 pitch and taken low, so a walk, and the second issued by Flaherty. Austin Romine struck out back in the third.
I was thinking before the game about both of these teams checking the numbers. We're at the bottom of the order of the Tigers, the bottom of the order of the Cardinals. Both teams have had a hard time getting a lot of production out of 7, 8, and 9, but not today for the Cardinals. Home runs by O'Neill, Lane Thomas, Bader with a base hit, Yachty in the 6th spot with a home run. I mean, there's a lot of production 6 through 9.
So runner at first, and the 0-1 to Romine, taken inside. Six strikeouts today, pair of walks, 4 hits allowed, including a 2-run homer. Candelario. And that's fouled back. 1-2 the count. The Game 2 starter for Detroit will be Jordan Zimmerman. Two-time All-Star.
Just coming off an extended time on the injured list. I'm excited to see Austin Gomber pitch again.
I am too. The 1-2 pitch, backs up, doesn't get the call.
Hard to say this about a pitcher that's only given up a couple runs on 4 hits in the 4th inning, but not the sharpest we've seen Jack Flaherty.
He's already had 83 pitches. The 2-2, fouled back. First inning, he struck out the side, and since then, not quite as sharp as we've seen. Cardinals did have the long bottom of the 3rd. Sent 11 men to the plate. The 2-2. Ground ball, foul.
No throwing yet, of course, in the Cardinals bullpen, but there's a lot of stretching going on. It's kind of their pre-yoga routine. It looks like they're doing out there. All kinds of stretching. Got to be ready. But you're hoping Jack can get through at least 5.
Two pitch. Not getting that call on the inside corner to the right-handed batters. And a fly ball out to Bader. Backs up, makes the catch. Tigers strand a runner, pick up 2. And we're midway through 4. 9-2 in game 1 of the doubleheader. The home runs hit. The BJC Healthcare difference maker for St. Louis. It started with Yadier Molina. That was in the 2nd inning. Then in the 3rd, Tyler O'Neill. That was a 2-run homer. And Lane Thomas also with a 2-run homer in the 3rd. The BJC Healthcare difference makers.
You know, I'm looking back at the play that Colton Wong made to end the top of the 3rd inning too, and how that was kind of a game changer. Tigers having,
it was a huge play,
a rough go of it here the last couple of days, but Wong's played defensively. Got Jack Flaherty out of that inning, and imagine if that inning would have blown up a little bit, then the next inning, and who knows just how the momentum goes in baseball. But that play by the Gold Glover certainly helped the cause.
So Bo Burrows, who is the 29th man for today's doubleheader. His 2nd inning is pitched in 4 games for the Tigers this year. 2-2 the count. Goldschmidt struck out in the 1st inning. Walked and scored in the 3rd. Ranked as the club's number 15 prospect. And Goldschmidt sends one to center. It's at the wall. It's gone. 4 home runs hit by the Cardinals here in game 1. And this one a solo shot. And number 5 on the year for the Cardinal first baseman to dead center field.
There's a lot of different ways to score runs. You can move guys over. You can get the on base going with walks and hit by pitch, or you can just hit a bunch of big flies. That's what the Cardinals are doing today. They're just teeing off. A lot of good at bats. And this is a very fair ballpark, as we've mentioned many times. This is, I would say, more a pitcher's park than a hitter's park. We're not playing at Great American Ballpark here.
No, sir.
Or Camden Yards.
Burrows was the number 22 overall pick by the Tigers in 2015. They love their minor league system. They feel that their system is stacked. Obviously, this was a rebuilding year for a team that lost a ton of games a season ago. So in a way, it's a rebuilding year, but the unfortunate part for them, there's no minor league season. As to Young, skies one down the left field line and out of play. Now that's unfortunate for everybody and the individuals involved, but this is the time when you're in a rebuilding mode that you're developing.
Yeah, and I think it does hurt a team like the Tigers more than most. And you're right, it hurts everybody. It hurts, you know, many friends of mine that are involved in the minor league system and have been furloughed for whatever reason. Smart baseball people that love the game and know the game. And so I worry about and concerned about the coaches, instructors, etc. But the players that aren't getting that development when they need it and when there's opportunity right in front of them, it's just understanding it is what it is. But it's something certainly we can lament for those minor league players that have all that promise.
They lost 114 games last year. 7th most ever And somehow that was not the most in team history. That's tapped foul.
And I'm betting you know the most. I'm just thinking that I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to guess you know the most in team history.
Cleveland Spiders 1899. 134. That's a tough year.
Now wait a minute. Weren't they just playing 154 games at that time?
That's correct. That's a tough year.
Oops.
That's a tough year.
Now there was a year back then when they traded a whole team for a whole team. I'm wondering if that happens to be that team.
Well,
I'll have to research that.
The Tigers, the most that they've ever lost, remember, they lost 119. That was in 03. And then they were in the World Series in 06. Maglio Ordonez, Placido Polanco. They got Kenny Rogers. I mean, that was a good team.
Oh, it was.
Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander. Very good team. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't field a bunt. And the Cardinals benefited. And they swept their opponent in the League Championship Series. And I don't think there's any doubt that led to that layoff helping the Cardinals.
I think that World Series came down to a little extra PFP that was needed.
Big time.
Pitchers fielding practice.
Ravello, a base hit into left. So he has a walk and a run scored, an RBI, and now a base hit.
You know what we're seeing in this game is a lot of comfortable, confident at-bats for the Cardinals. I'm calling it a feel-good day offensively. Every swing is good. Nobody's kind of pressed, tense at the plate. It's just see it and hit it, and the Cardinals are doing just that. And that kind of day can be infectious and just kind of go forward, and that's what we're hoping for.
And a strike to Yadier Molina, so he is homered on Roberto Clemente Day, and Paul Goldschmidt is homered on his birthday. Fouled back. So he's at 159. That moves him into the top 10 all time in Cardinals history. And also with that home run, he's now at 1,988 hits. So he's closing in on 2,000 hits. All-time leader in hits by catcher, Pudge Rodriguez, had 2,844.
Not that he needs any more cement for the Hall of Fame.
Another hit for Yadi.
But I think 2,000 might be the final thing for him.
That cements it. Cardinals baseball brought to you by Ford, the official car and truck of the Cardinals. By the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by Bud Light Seltzer, unquestionably good. Back in the third inning, this home run hit by Tyler O'Neill. StatCast powered by Google Cloud.
427 feet in a hurry.
O'Neill with a walk, a stolen base, and a two-run homer. We've been looking and waiting for one of these outfielders to take it and run with it, and he's streaky. He might do it.
So we talked earlier about what a player does, and you say you got to grab it, you got to grab it, and there is a thing about overdoing it and not, as players would say, staying within yourself. So you have to, yes, take advantage of the opportunity, but do it confidently and do it the way you do it. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Now, if I were to try to be you, Dan, I would run into all kinds of trouble. I just have to be me.
Ain't that the truth?
My head is hurting just thinking about it.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2 the count. Runners at first and second. Up and in. We've seen that though from O'Neill, the fact that he is just a guy that is streaky. He'll go on a 10-day streak and you think you can't get this guy out, and he's hitting bombs everywhere. Left, right, all fields, stealing bases. And by the way, his defensive metrics have been in the top 10 this year in baseball for outfielders. O'Neill base hit into left field. And the Cardinals will have a familiar position. And that's the bases loaded. Boy, how many times have they had the bases loaded this year?
A lot. And how'd they get there? This time, that's another base hit for Tyler O'Neill. Some topspin on that one. And another trip to the mound.
While we have a moment, the Bud Light Seltzer, what's on tap? And so it is Austin Gomber in game 2. And let's face it, Ricky, if he's with other teams, he's in the rotation because pitching has been hurting across the board in the game.
Well, everything that's going on with the Cardinals, I'm not so sure that's not going to happen with St. Louis, too. I don't know how much he can get stretched out, how quickly he can get stretched out. But we're looking forward to watching him pitch. He's been, I think he's shown very well. And, of course, with Kim out, question mark. Carlos Martinez, you're just not sure where he is right now and how he's going. Daniel Ponce de Leon, not sure. And Oviedo now on the we'll call it the short-term COVID list. Hopefully we'll have him back quickly. But there's opportunity there for this year for Austin Gomber with St. Louis.
This is the 42nd time the Cardinals have had an at-bat with the bases loaded this year. This is game number 36.
That means a lot of traffic.
Sure does. And Bader pops it up. Infield fly with 1 out and the catch made. And that'll bring in Lane Thomas. And Lane has hit a home run today.
This was of the line drive variety. Just getting over the wall, but well hit. And good to see him getting his first home run of the season.
Now Lane has had a grand slam. Remember that grand slam against Pittsburgh?
Yes.
First pitch popped up, and that'll get out of play. Ooh, watch out.
Oh my goodness.
Cameron running into the netting. Runs into the netting. Looks like he's shaking his head as if to say he's okay. And I think you're almost saying thank you that the netting is there.
Yeah. Well, he hits his leg against the wall is what I think happens, and then he flies into the netting again, better than flying into the metal seats at this point. And maybe he thought maybe he had that landing area, so why not try to help out our pitchers who are needing some help right now. I mean, that just shows a big leaguer that's saying we need to find any way to get outs right now because things aren't going our way.
The Tigers have been outscored 29-2 over the last 13 innings. Nick Ramirez up in the pen right now, left-hander for Detroit. It's a 10-2 ball game. The Cardinals have out-hit Detroit 11-4. Thomas trying to add to it.
I think some of the major league teams that are running into issues with their pitchers coming out of the summer camp and the long layoff, etc., and the Marlins especially with their 17 days off, just shows you why spring training is important.
You bet.
For pitchers.
I believe it now more than ever.
Yeah.
I always thought it, but now I see it firsthand.
The best way I can describe it is it's a very slow, gradual getting into game ready shape and sharpness. And you can't shortcut the process.
No. Just part of the game. 2-2. Cardinals have popped 4 home runs today. The 2-2. And Thomas caught looking. A strikeout with the bases loaded. So 4 home runs today. The most recent, this one on his birthday. The 33-year-old sends one to center. 10-2 Cardinals.
Cards playing a little home run derby. They lead at 10-2 at Busch Stadium. Major League Baseball celebrating the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente yesterday. Yachty celebrating today and in a big way. Wearing number 21, he had his 3rd home run of the season today. Many Puerto Rican born players wore the 21 yesterday. The entire Pirates team did as well. Mike Schultz suggested to me the other day he'd like to see Major League Baseball do something like that league-wide. I asked John Mozeliak about it today, and he is on board. He said if you're going to have a Roberto Clemente day, you might as well bring it all the way home. Dan, you can't have too much celebration over the life of Roberto Clemente.
Amazing man, and I'm sure, Ricky, for you growing up, watching the game, loving the game, he had to be one of your favorite players.
I saw him play. I saw him play. I was very young. I'm going to guess 8, 9, or 10. Saw him play at Old Shea Stadium in New York. And, you just saw Willie Mays play also around that era. And, you see the great guys play. Now, I was young, not too young to understand what players like that meant in terms of history, but the more I stayed around the game of baseball, everybody knows who Roberto Clemente is, and everybody of that era knew that he was a top-notch defender, great player, and the humanitarian part is just, honestly, it's just the icing on it, really, in terms of how we remember him and his service, selfless service.
There's a ground ball, and it's taken there by Wong. 2 away.
So we love to celebrate excellence in sports, and I think there's certainly a place for that. And then you also love to celebrate service of people of sport. And when they're the same thing, the same guy, the stars doing it, that's why we have the Roberto Clemente Award.
And for our young baseball fans and sports fans that are children now, they see the 21 or they see the 42 and they ask the questions.
Right.
So they learn. That to me is so important too. Jonathan Scope. Well, you mentioned it, Ricky. I think you see a score right now. It's 10-2, and there's the home runs that have been hit for the Cardinals. But a key play in this game was off the bat of Scope with runners at first and third. It was tight at that point, and it was Colton Wong who turned a double play up the middle.
Not an easy one.
There's a ground ball, gloved by Edmonds, slings it over to first, and the out. So 1, 2, 3, quick inning for Jack Flaherty, who's through 5. We're celebrating Roberto Clemente Day here at the ballpark. Glad you're with us on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals.com/hunger. Cardinals Care and Royals Charities have teamed up to step up to the plate. You can as well. Team up to fight hunger. Cardinals.com/hunger. This is Ramirez, a lefty out of the pen for Detroit. 10-2, game 1.
A few changes this inning. Ramirez, first appearance since 2019.
Tested right away.
Sure was. But a couple of other changes defensively for Detroit, and I do think the Cardinals might do the same thing here soon. Once you get to this point in the game with all that's ahead, and you still wonder if that's enough for Jack Flaherty too. 5 innings.
Seth Elledge throwing in the Cardinal pen.
Like, there's your answer.
One out in the bottom of the 5th. Game 1 of a doubleheader. 45 minutes after game 1, we'll have game 2. Post-game show to keep you entertained here on Fox Sports Midwest. All the baseball you want. Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri.
Our first look at number 0 this inning in the on-deck circle for St. Louis.
Austin Dean. I think Kerry Robinson when I see 0.
Oh, yeah.
Working in the front office for the Cardinals. It's a scout, but that's the other thing about the trade deadline that complicated things. If you wanted to make a move, you could not go down and watch minor league players.
Not a sustainable way to do business long term. Obviously, players are going to get older. You're going to need the next generation of players. Well, how does that work?
Off the glove of Ramirez, Edman hustling, and out number 2.
Good play by Alcantara, the second baseman. Just came into the game. Taking a hit away from Tommy Edman.
I do find it fascinating as we get, let's say, 2 years away from this season, how players, did it stunt their growth? What happened to certain pitchers? What happened to certain players?
How can it not? I mean, I think you're right. We'll see the severity of it, but that's not any different than what educators are asking throughout the world right now about kids that aren't able to go to school the normal way. I mean, what about that learning growth that's happening? But the baseball learning growth is not just what you learn physically or mentally, but what you learn physically.
And Dean, a fly out to left field. So Ramirez enjoys a 1-2-3, sends us to the 6th, 10-2.
The top of the 6th inning. Cards playing in their 7th doubleheader of the season today. They've got 3 more coming up next week, 2 against Milwaukee and 1 against the Pirates. Mike Shildt spoke this morning about how the team is handling the fatigue factor considering this dense stretch of their schedule. He said, we've been in a sprint mode, already at the halfway point of what's been an unprecedented schedule, but credit goes to this group in the first wave of this. They work smart and they're mentally tough, which is a big part of this. Your mind controls your body, but you have to balance the competition with your guys and making sure you're taking care of them at the same time. He said, we've got a bunch of Iron Men, Dan.
We're going to need them.
Yeah. Well said.
Miguel Cabrera now 148 hits shy, by the way, of 3,000.
There's something about when your manager says that you are an Iron Man that makes you feel like one. Honestly. I mean,
good luck.
But if your manager is supporting the fact that you can do this, or your catcher is out there catching all the innings that Yadi has done, the influence that happens with the leadership in the clubhouse is going to be very important the next 3 weeks and beyond.
So 148 shy of 3,000. He will become the 33rd member of the 3,000 hit club. 1-2 pitch to Cabrera. There's one. And the out. Think about when he first started Cabrera. Weren't seeing the shift back when he started. Game has changed. Game has changed so much in the last 3 and then 5 and then you go to 10 years. It's a different game.
In the last 4 months.
Well, the world changed.
Yes. But you're thinking about, I think a great question going forward is, are the changes permanent? And the changes of 7-inning doubleheaders as an example.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are saying I like them. A lot of fans are saying they like them.
What do you think?
I like them more than I thought I would. If I had to take one of the new rules going forward, it wouldn't be the runner off of second base in extra innings. It wouldn't be the DH in the National League, and that's probably a losing battle. Although I like them both for this year, I wouldn't like them going forward.
I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Uh-oh.
I can't believe it. I've actually been okay with the DH. But maybe it's because I've forgotten what it's like to have the pitcher hitting.
Yeah, it's not so much watching the pitcher hit that I miss. It's watching the strategy unfold as the game goes on about what you do with them.
That's the part I miss.
Yeah,
I was going to miss the part of it.
The number of games, and we did a couple of games early on where you got to the point, well, do you pinch hit for Wainwright or not?
Yeah. But I think we're going to be part of a losing battle on that one.
I agree.
There's a base hit into right center. Cut off by Bader. Candelario in with a double. So 2-run homer and now a double. He has been pretty much the offense today for Detroit. Tom Mee, our longtime director, says he despises me now. As if he didn't before, but now another reason. I was going to say,
you sure he said now?
Yeah. He loves the idea of the pitcher batting as well.
Yeah, or the strategy around it.
I enjoy the strategy too. 3-batter minimum, it really hasn't affected one way or another with what I'm seeing.
I've almost not noticed it. I mean, there are times where it sneaks up on you and you don't even kind of consider it. Been a non-factor, but it probably has yielded less pitchers per game, which I think is part of the hope. Instead of having 4 pitchers pitch in 1 inning, you just don't see that. Can't happen.
Nothing in 2 on Willie Castro. Cardinals about hit the Tigers 11-5. No errors in this game. And a 10-2 St. Louis lead. Elledge had that very fine debut against the Chicago White Sox and has filled some valuable innings for St. Louis out of the pen.
Yeah, he came right out of the gate and had good stuff and had the sharp slider and was throwing strikes and a little bit of command issue and control issues, but for the most part you say, well, okay, you can see why the Cardinals wanted to get him from Seattle, giving up Sam Tuivailala to get him.
One and two the count.
Another thing I see going forward here the next 3 weeks is when teams are out of the playoffs, how do they handle what players do they use? You can't expand rosters. It's not that, but who do you play? Who do you pitch? Because the future is so unknown about what 2021 is going to be like. Are you going to be protecting some guys you're concerned about maybe being injured?
There's a swing and a miss. Cardinals proud to partner with Wells Fargo Advisors. Thank them for continuing to serve the community through their contributions to Cardinals Care.
My point with that, Dan, is there's a cadence every year to baseball that we've gotten used to, which includes what the trading deadline looks like and feels like, what the September call-ups look like and feel like, what the last week of the season going into playoffs. But this is whole new territory. for teams that aren't going to the playoffs and teams that are. How do you play the last 2 weeks? There's talks of maybe having kind of a bubble for some teams that are going to play in the playoffs the last week or so. That's a possibility. So it's just going to be very different how you go about your business.
Yeah, if you're one of those teams that's out of it, let's say the Pirates, do you play your young players in the final 2 weeks?
Or a guy is a little tender. Do you just shut him down? Or
here's a 1-1 pitch to Demerit. Wong going out, calls off Dean, and Colton with the catch near the line. Midway through 6, 10-2. Baseball and softball coaches help positively shape the lives of their players. Enter the Coaches Who Care contest presented by Nike at cardinals.com/coaches who care. Here's Matt Carpenter with Ravello on deck. Right-hander starting to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. So the Cardinals get 5 innings out of Flaherty. Elledge a scoreless inning. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. First plate appearance for Carpenter. What I'm sure has been a trying season for him. Had a very good summer camp, maybe the best of anybody. Slow start, and has just not been able to get it going. And now with the other outfielders, let's say in game 1, Tommy Edman pushed out of the outfield. He's going to play. He's going to play third base. You've got Ravello hitting. He's a designated hitter. Brad Miller hits against right-handers, so he's got to make the most of these types of plate appearances.
And because it's happened before in his career where all of a sudden it clicked in and he was the best hitter on the planet. I mean, that's not, I mean, the most bizarre season, Dan, I've ever seen is how poorly he started a season and then
top 10 in the MVP.
10 months. I mean, not 10 months. 10 weeks later, we're talking about him as an MVP.
Oh, boy. Got him in the helmet, I believe. Hit the. He says he's all right. I think got him right above the ear, maybe. Adam Olson out of the Cardinals medical team and waves him off, and so Carpenter will take first base.
So you're trying to get your at bats comfortable. This doesn't help. Looked like a slider that just got underneath a little bit and
shoulder maybe in the helmet.
Shoulder, then maybe shoulder and helmet both actually. The helmet went flying, and Matt was clearly not happy about it, and who would be?
And a pitch taken outside by Ravello. Popped up and out of play. One ball and 1 strike. The cutouts include George Kissel and Lou Brock in red. Stan, I see Larry Walker back there.
I see a cutout that looks like my daughter too. She bought
back there.
She bought one last week.
Is that right?
She said, yeah. She said she heard us all talking about it and thought it was a great thing, and wanted to help out Cardinal Care.
Yanks that foul on the backswing, got the catcher Romine.
Over 6,000. Last number I heard, over 6,000 cutouts. 6,000 members of Cardboard Nation. George Kissel would have been 100 this week.
That's right.
And as many times as we bring him up, his legacy of teaching and influence will go on for 100 more years.
And that's lifted down the left field line near the foul pole. Gone! 5 home runs hit by the Cardinals today. This one, Rangel Ravello, and again a 2-run homer. Big day for Ravello with a pair of hits. This one a 2-run homer to go along with another RBI back in the 3rd and a walk and a run scored.
Big day for Cardinal bats in general.
That's 4 2-run homers and a solo shot by Goldschmidt. A total of 5 homers hit today. A 12-2 St. Louis lead as Yachty takes a ball down and in. 2 balls and 1 strike. Two and 2. Yachty got it started back in the 2nd inning. The 2-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Molina. And the first out here in the home half of the 6th inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Tyler O'Neill, a 2-run blast back in the 3rd. Cardinals sent 11 to the plate in that 3rd inning, and they scored 7. Way out in front.
So you brought up the thought early in this game about grabbing opportunity. Cardinals with 12 runs and 12 hits in this game. You'd say Ravello's done that.
Oh yeah.
You'd say Tyler O'Neill has done that.
Yep.
Thomas has a homer. Bader a single. Runs scored. Really everybody in the Cardinals lineup, in the initial lineup, with a hit.
Last 5 home run game was at Colorado. As O'Neill pops it up right side and out of play. That ball game, they had Fowler, Wong, Ravello, Ozuna, and Bader. That was the game that Ravello hit one about 700,000 feet. You may remember that home run.
I do. Was that the official distance?
Correct. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records, if you didn't know.
I know now.
Outside corner and a strikeout of O'Neill.
A little generous, but considering the circumstances.
And lifted in the air and caught. Boy, what a play.
Wow.
Again.
That's two good plays.
Tell you what, Demerit has made two outstanding plays in left field. This is another dandy.
Good hands for a pitcher.
Nabil Chrismat into the ball game for St. Louis, and our Chevy called to the pen. So Chrismat getting a chance in this unique season, to say the least, to get some opportunities, and has made the most of them.
I'm sure in his wildest dreams he didn't think he'd reach the big leagues in 2020, but here he is from Barranquilla, Colombia. Game number 3 for him, and he's been unscored upon in his first 2 games. Shown a good slider.
One pitch. One out.
When you get a big lead in the first game of a doubleheader, you just hope the last few innings is uneventful, smooth, and you can just get ready for game 2 and go back at it.
Post-game show coming up. And then we'll have about 45 minutes or so. Austin Gomber goes in game 2. Austin Romine. And the 1-0 pitch. Fly to center last time up. Watch out. Nabil Chrismat was born on Christmas.
Oh, that has a nice sound to it.
Sure does. 2-1 pitch. Foul back. 2-2.
So if he would have been a girl instead of a boy, would his parents have named him Mary?
You'd have to ask them. Which, knowing you, you probably will.
Let me go through my phone and see if I've got the Chrismat family.
I don't.
That's just a question, Dan.
Well, knowing us as we do, hopefully we'll be at spring training and things will be back to normal. We'll be able to go on the backfields. Potentially he'll be there. We don't know, and we'll be able to figure that out. There's a line drive and caught. Tommy Edman. That's where we like to go during spring training, to see the young players that are coming up. So we saw some of these young guys like Chrismat and others. This is not foreign territory for us. We've seen some of these guys.
You see them on the backfield.
Yep.
So I will write that question in my phone and remember it for next spring, with hopes that we will have a normal next spring. 2
away, breaking ball and a strike. I mentioned he's from Colombia, and every time I think of players from Colombia, I think one Edgar Renteria.
El Capitan.
And chopped to Colton Wong, and that will be a Game 1 win for St. Louis in this doubleheader. The Cardinals now 19-17 on the year. 5 home runs hit by the Cardinals. We'll step aside. Post-game show coming up next. Big day for Yachty, and Game 2 is coming up. 12-2 the final.